But you've admitted that you have a ketamine prescription.
Yeah.
What's that for?
Well, I mean, it's pretty private to ask somebody about a medical prescription, you know. But I think it's something I'd say, like, there are times when I have sort of, I don't know, like a negative chemical state in my brain, like depression, I guess, you know, or like depression that's not linked to any negative views, and then ketamine is helpful for getting one out of a negative frame of mind.
Richest man in the world, tech mogul, business owner, government efficiency guru, and father to X amount of kids, no pun intended. The New York Times has found that Elon Musk's drug use is far more extensive than previously thought. While Elon has admitted in the past, as you just saw in that clip, that he has a prescription for ketamine, he is also said to regularly take several other substances, such as ecstasy, magic mushrooms, and Adderall. These allegations come out at a time when Elon Musk's his public businesses, his governmental profile, they're all faltering in very real time. Today, he was in the Oval Office with a black eye. Who knows what's going on with that? But even his businesses are tanking, both in revenue and in reputation. In 2024, Musk got more deeply and openly involved in American politics, joining the MAGA movement, donning the red hat, and donating $275 million to Donald Trump's presidential campaign. So during this time, Musk made several public appearances at Trump rallies and Republican events, and his behavior was becoming increasingly erratic. Perhaps you remember this.
Come on up here, Elon. His rocket company is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space. Come here. Take over, Elon. Yes, take over. Is the only reason we can now send American astronauts into space. Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
All right, the New York Times states that in a text message following that event in Butler, Pennsylvania, Musk said, "I'm feeling more optimistic after tonight. Tomorrow we unleash the anomaly in the matrix. This is not something on the chessboard, so they will be quite surprised." And then he later added, "Lasers from space," whatever, what does that mean? The Times says, with supporting evidence from texts from Elon, that his hard MAGA turn stemmed from his personal grievances with the Biden administration. Musk was facing several investigations into his businesses and business practices at the time, following allegations that his workplaces were hostile and the products he was making were safety hazards. So there are at least half a dozen initiatives of significance to take me down. This is what he wrote in a text message to someone close to him last May. "The Biden administration views me as the number 2 threat after Trump. I can't be president, but I can help Trump defeat Biden, and I will." He publicly endorsed Mr. Trump in July. That is exactly what he did, right? So apart from spending exorbitant amounts of time playing video games and tweeting on his own social media platform, Musk was seen wielding a chainsaw at CPAC and doing what can only reasonably be described as a Nazi salute more than once at the Trump inauguration event. He did all of this while insisting that he was too busy to partake in too many substances, which would prevent him from being very productive. So from the New York Times, Mr. Musk's drug consumption went well beyond occasional use. He told people he was taking so much ketamine, a powerful anesthetic, that it was affecting his bladder, a known effect of chronic use. He took ecstasy and psychedelic mushrooms, and he traveled with a daily medication box that held about 20 pills, including ones with the markings of the stimulant Adderall, according to a photo of the box and people who have seen it. The article cites several private text messages and interviews with sources close to Musk, revealing the extent of his drug use and its effects on his behavior. However, earlier today, Elon Musk was in the Oval Office, as I mentioned earlier, with a black eye for some reason, for a press conference with the president. And here is his response when Fox News reporter Peter Doocy asked him about the Times article.
There is a New York Times report today that accuses you of blurring the line between.
Is the New York Times, is that the same publication that got a Pulitzer Prize for false reporting on the Russiagate? Is it the same organization?
I got to check my Pulitzer.
I think it is.
It is.
I think the judge just ruled against the New York Times for their lies about the Russiagate hoax, and that they might have to give back that Pulitzer Prize. That New York Times, let's move on.
So just an absolute complete deflection from the question. Sharon, I want to start with you on this one. So I don't want to perpetuate the idea that somebody can have, some kind of substance issue or dependency and not still be, productive in the world in some kind of meaningful way, because there are people who can do that. And, whether or not, we understand it is one thing, but there are people, and especially throughout history, who have been able to be very productive and contribute quite a bit to humanity and to society while dealing with something personally on the side. So that aside, there has been a kind of a direct correlation between the substance issues that we know that he's having, now that we can see it from these text messages, just from him saying my bladder is having issues now because he's been using too much ketamine. There's that, and then it directly correlates on the timeline with this erratic behavior that we've been seeing from Elon Musk. That's not to say that maybe he wasn't acting a certain way before and it just wasn't as public, we weren't as aware of it. But now this is somebody who has demonstrated that he is on multiple substances for whatever reason, and he is behaving erratically, and now he is operating at some of the highest levels of our government in a lot of functional ways. The things that he's doing is affecting the lives of tens of thousands of Americans, if not more. So Sharon, what do you think about this? Do you think it's relevant to the things that he's doing, or do you think that this is, much ado about nothing?
I think it's absolutely relevant, and it's that last part. He's affecting really all of our lives. He's got his paws on our data, and he and Big Bulls are entering places, or have, that they shouldn't have been. His little friend there, his sidekick, techie guy. So it's absolutely our duty to question it. And no, I don't think that we're going out of our way. I don't know if he has a substance abuse problem. I know he's on these substances because he said he is. And that's a different matter when you're talking about somebody who isn't elected. Would we have voted for someone like that, who is always with his arms raised, or doing a Hitler salute by accident, showing his milky belly? I don't know. But what I do know is it actually made him more human to me when I heard him in that interview with Don Lemon talking about depression. Lots of people have depression and they struggle with ways to deal with it. But that's where it ends. He's combative, he's erratic. I don't know what the baseline is for Elon Musk. Like you said, maybe this is just who he is anyway, but it projects unwellness, and we absolutely have a right to zero in on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jordan, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if it's somebody, Elon Musk, the person, and they have a substance abuse problem, or even if it's just recreational, I don't care. That's not my business. But It's not just Elon Musk, the person. It's Elon Musk, the government advisor. It's Elon Musk, and this is the most concerning, the military contractor. Elon Musk, as a requirement for the billions he gets in federal funding for his various companies, has to submit to drug tests. I sat down and interviewed somebody from Rolling Stone today, and they were telling me how what they've gathered is Elon Musk has known in advance when those drug tests were coming. So this reporting from the New York Times seems to show, given what appears to be a well-documented history of at least drug abuse, he is somebody who isn't fulfilling the requirements as part of his government contracts. And because of his erratic behavior, because of the consumption, and because of what he's doing, mixing those together, it is a legitimate concern. Why are we giving him so much money? And if there's any solace for his ketamine abuse, that condition that was described in the New York Times piece, some treatment methods require a urologist inserting a metal rod up there. So while he has wreaked havoc over our government. At the very least, we can cross our fingers and hope he had to endure that as part of his treatment.
That is
Here.
very interesting silver lining, Jordan. Thank you. But you're absolutely right. He says that there is drug testing at his companies, but he somehow is always given advance notice of when those drug tests are happening. And he's the boss anyway. So even if they came back showing positive for something, who cares? What are they going to do? Fire him? I mean, maybe they might at this point because his companies are doing so badly anyway. But it's true. I like that distinction that you made, Jordan, between Elon Musk, the man, and Elon Musk, the everything else that he is, right? This is a man who is relevant, not just here in this country, but on the world stage in a very, very real and kind of scary, dangerous way. The idea that this one man has so much power, he was the one who decided whether or not the Ukrainians had access to the internet, things like that, right? And this person who is clearly a little bit unstable, and I'd say that to be nice, but he's clearly going through something, but we still expect him to be able to manage our entire American government and then also manage overseas war stuff and then also manage his companies. It's asking a lot of anybody. So I'm not surprised that he's having a hard time managing all of it and dealing with all of it and juggling it. And I do have empathy for that person, which is saying something because, I generally don't care about Elon Musk, but I don't want anybody to go through that. Also, I do want to just say real quick before we get a break, ketamine, in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing. I know a lot of people who are going through psychological issues, they find a lot of success with it. But it's usually, they whenever they do it as part of their medical treatment, it is directly under a doctor's supervision. I don't know if that's what's happening with Elon Musk. As he said in that interview, that is kind of a personal thing, the way that he is using it, but he was prescribed it by a doctor. So there's that.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.